Some ask the question, did Jesus have a wife? In the scriptures, there's no evidence that he had a physical wife. However, I want to share something that may be a rather surprising fact. That is that Jesus is identified as the bridegroom in various places in the New Testament. In John chapter 3, in verses 25 and 26, some of the disciples of John the Immerser come to him and ask him a question, and they refer to one who he testified of beyond that area of the Jordan, as in the one that John testified of, who was Jesus. It says, "Therefore there happened to be a debate from John's disciples with a Jew concerning the cleansing. And they came to John and said to him, Rabbi, he who was with you beyond that area of the Jordan, to whom you have testified, behold, this one immerses, and all men are going to him." A few verses later, John continues his answer to this, but he uses an interesting analogy. He describes himself as the friend of the bridegroom who rejoices at the voice of the bridegroom. So John is speaking of Jesus as the bridegroom, and he is merely the friend of that individual. It says in verse 29, "He who has the bride is the bridegroom, but the friend of the bridegroom, who is standing and hearing him, rejoices with joy because of the bridegroom's voice. Therefore in this my joy has been fulfilled." But of course the bridegroom is going to have a bride, and thereby have a wife, of course. But follow me here. In John chapter 1, verse 29, John the Immerser identifies Jesus as the Lamb of God. On the next day he sees Jesus coming to him and says, "Behold, the Lamb of God, who is taking away the sin of the world." But if you look in Revelation chapter 21, there are statements regarding a lamb. And from other passages in that book, we know that the lamb is Jesus Christ. But what does the lamb have? Well, in Revelation chapter 21, verse 9, it reads, "And one out of the 7 messengers who had the 7 bowls full of the last 7 wounds came and spoke with me, saying, Come here, I will show you the bride, the wife of the Lamb." So the Lamb has a wife. Jesus has a wife. And it says in verse 10, "And he carried me away in the Spirit to a mountain great and high, and showed me the great holy city Jerusalem coming down from heaven, from God." So whoever is associated with being a part of this holy city, Jerusalem, coming down from heaven in this vision, is part of the wife of the Lamb, part of the bride of Christ. And we can be part of that body, part of the bride of Christ. But did Jesus have a physical wife? No, he did not. But he does have a spiritual bride, and he will be married to that bride in a spiritual manner, and that bride will be his wife.